My name's Frank. I'm a bulldog. Yep, one of those short, tough, slightly squished-looking guys with a face some might call a face only an owner could love. My owner, Henry, would beg to differ. To him, I'm a rugged masterpiece, all wrinkles and jowls. Together, we live in a cramped but cozy apartment in Brooklyn. Henry's a straightforward guy, an insurance agent who can talk for hours about premiums and policies, but I know what really makes him tick. It's me. I'm his little sidekick, the big-eared boss of his small world. Now, let me set something straight. Henry's great, but let's not kid ourselves. The best part of my day isn't the treats, the walks, or even that rare belly rub he occasionally remembers to give. No, the absolute highlight is when I see another dog. It's the canine equivalent of a thunderstorm rolling through a calm summer's day. And why, you ask? Is meeting another dog such a big deal for me? Sit, stay, and listen up. I'll give you the scoop from my point of view, sarcasm and all. Meeting another dog isn't just sniffing and tail wagging. Oh no, it's a full-blown psychological evaluation, a deeply complex and mildly embarrassing sensory experience that I, Frank the Bulldog, undergo every single time. It's like sniffing into a parallel universe where every dog has its quirks, odors, and yes, ridiculous haircuts. You'd think after living in Brooklyn for years and encountering hundreds, if not thousands of dogs, I'd be bored by it. But here's the thing, we dogs don't operate like that. When I see a new dog across the street, I freeze. My legs stiffen, my chest puffs up, and my eyes turn into laser beams. Who is this stranger? What do they want? Are they friend or foe? These are the questions that flash through my mind faster than a chew toy under Henry's couch. You humans have no idea how complex our dog body language is. You think it's just wag the tail or bark. Let me tell you, it's practically an art form. The other day, I encountered a poodle who had the audacity to prance by without a single bark or nod of acknowledgement. I was baffled. I gave him the good old Frank stare down, tail low, shoulders squared, doing my best, don't mess with me look. He just strutted by, all fluffy and pom-pommed, acting like he was too posh to interact with a bulldog. Typical. It's the social cues, you see. With a glance, I can tell if a dog is friendly, nervous, bossy, plain clueless. Like, have you ever seen a Chihuahua try to act tough? It's adorable and tragic at the same time. They do this yappy little bark, like they're trying to convince themselves they're a German Shepherd. Buddy, I think, you're 6 pounds of fluff and fury. Who are you kidding? And then, of course, there's the sniffing ritual. Humans might find it gross, but trust me, there's a science to it. Every whiff tells me a story. Age, gender, what they ate for dinner last night. Don't ask me how I know. I just do. Sniffing is practically our LinkedIn profile, but way more honest. Now, I know you're thinking, what about Henry? Believe me, I've got a lot to say about him too. Henry is, by all standards, a good owner. He's predictable, which I appreciate. Every morning, he puts on the same wrinkled shirt and slacks, grabs his briefcase, and heads out to the insurance company. He's got this little routine, you know, comes home around 6, scratches me behind the ears, and talks to me about his day. I always listen, even though I have no idea what a deductible is. Henry, bless his soul, has this belief that every dog is like me, smart, sensible, and somewhat of a cynic. When we're out and about, he tries to make friends with other dogs' owners, thinking that us dogs will automatically vibe. "Oh, this is Rex," he'll say, introducing me to some lumbering golden retriever. Henry doesn't realize that we dogs don't just become friends. Meeting another dog isn't a casual, friendly thing for me. It's more like a high-stakes interview. For instance, there was a time we met a dachshund named Bella. Sweet dog, nice enough, but she kept yapping at me like she had something to prove. I tried to be polite, but after a while, I had to give her the classic bulldog snort. It's a sound that says, "Back off, lady." Henry just laughed, oblivious as ever, while Bella's owner looked horrified. I mean, come on, what does he expect? Now, let's talk sense. You humans think we just smell things randomly. Nope. When I smell another dog, I'm not just sniffing. I'm accessing a whole database of doggy data. It's like social media, but real, with layers of history, mood, and physical fitness. One whiff can tell me if this dog is nervous, tired, happy, or if he just came from the groomers. And don't get me started on those perfume-wearing pups. They reek of artificial flowers and chemicals. I can practically taste the betrayal in their scent, as if they've given up their doggy dignity just to smell like a rosebush. But not every encounter is a game changer. Some dogs don't have much going on upstairs, if you catch my drift. I met a Great Dane last week who just stood there, staring off into space while I gave him my best sniff and nudge. Hello? Anyone home? I barked a little, but he barely blinked. Some dogs are just like that, big, strong, and about as interesting as a pile of rocks. I bet he thinks he's hot stuff because he's tall. Let's get to the big leagues. The dog park. Now, the park is where things get serious. It's a kind of battleground, a social experiment, and a carnival all rolled into one. Here, you're not just meeting one dog, you're meeting packs. All sorts of breeds and personalities. It's the Wild West of Brooklyn dog life, and I, Frank the Bulldog, am its skeptical sheriff. At the park, every dog is putting on a show. You've got the terriers, who think they own the place, prancing around like they're all muscle and no nonsense. Then you've got the Labradors, who are always just a bit too friendly, as if they're desperate to be everyone's best friend. And, of course, the poodles. Don't even get me started on poodles. They stand there, all fluff and superiority, with their noses in the air, looking down on the rest of us like we're uncouth mutts. So, there I am, strutting my bulldog stuff, giving a sideways glance to a particularly smug-looking husky. He gives me this look that says, I could run circles around you. And, well, he probably could, but that's beside the point. I give him the good old Frank glare, chin low, eyes narrowed, like, yeah, go ahead, try me. He decides against it and trots off to find a more gullible audience. The social structure at the park is fascinating. There's always a big dog who thinks he's the boss, and a small dog trying to prove he's tougher than he looks. I watch as these little Chihuahuas and Yorkies yap at the big dogs, puffing out their chests. It's almost cute, almost. The rest of us stand back, observing, as if to say, hey, if they want to embarrass themselves, let them. But here's the thing. Every now and then you meet a dog who gets it. A fellow skeptic, if you will. Like this one time, I met a basset hound named Louie. He had these droopy eyes that looked like he'd seen it all. Louie didn't bark, didn't prance. He just sauntered up, gave me a respectful sniff, and lay down beside me. No fanfare, no drama. We didn't need to yap or jump around. We just understood each other. Sometimes, that's all a dog needs. A quiet moment with a fellow cynic. Back home, things are usually pretty quiet. Henry works long hours, so I spend a lot of time lounging around, watching people go by outside our window. But every once in a while, something strange happens. There's a dog who lives a few floors above us, a pug named Eddie. I don't see him much, but I can smell him in the elevator. Let me tell you, Eddie has a scent that's peculiar, kind of like popcorn mixed with old socks, and that's putting it kindly. One day, I finally met Eddie when Henry and I were getting off the elevator. Eddie's owner held him close, like he was made of glass. Eddie gave me this wide-eyed look, half curiosity, half fear. I wagged my tail, just to be polite, but Eddie started squirming, like I'd just threatened his whole family. His owner gave me a dirty look, as if I was some sort of ruffian, and whisked Eddie away. I couldn't help but laugh to myself. Poor Eddie. He probably doesn't get out much. It's not his fault he's a bit high-strung. Still, he could learn a thing or two about social graces. You can tell a lot about a dog from their behavior in elevators. Some of us bulldogs are chill, while others, like Eddie, act like they've seen a ghost every time the doors open. Rainy days are the bane of my existence. Henry, for some reason, thinks I should still go out in all kinds of weather, as if I'm some Labrador with a waterproof coat. I, on the other hand, despise rain. My paws get all wet, my fur sticks to me in awkward places, and don't even get me started on the puddles. But there's one redeeming factor to rainy days: fire hydrants. You'd think fire hydrants would be the same rain or shine, but no. There's something magical about a rain-soaked hydrant. The scents are richer, more layered. It's like the hydrant's been marinating in a stew of stories from all the dogs that have passed by. I give it a thorough sniff, picking up traces of a husky, maybe even a whiff of a schnauzer. Each hydrant has its own history, a kind of doggy guest book that tells me who's been there and what they're like. The vet. The word alone sends a chill down my spine. Henry thinks he's being sneaky when he says, "We're just going for a checkup, buddy." But I know. Oh, I know. Every dog does. There's a smell in the vet's office that's unmistakable, a mix of antiseptic, fear, and something else that makes my fur stand on end. It's the smell of betrayal. At the vet's, I see dogs of all kinds, each with their own story. Some look calm, like they've made peace with their fate. Others, like me, can't help but shake in anticipation. I always try to put on a brave face, but the second I hear that door open, I'm a goner. Henry tries to comfort me, but he doesn't understand. The vet is an enigma, a place where all dogs are equal in fear, whether you're a scrappy terrier or a stoic Great Dane. After every encounter, every sniff, every park adventure, and even every vet visit, there's no place like home. Henry and I settle back into our little routines, with him on the couch, munching on popcorn, and me at his feet, basking in the quiet. Brooklyn might be noisy, crowded, and full of dogs with more attitude than brains, but it's our turf. I look up at Henry, who gives me a little scratch behind the ears, and I can't help but feel like the luckiest bulldog in the world. Because at the end of the day, life's about the simple things. Meeting other dogs is always an event, sure, but having someone like Henry by my side, that's the best thing of all.